Episode number 120. Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand. Are you eager to get unstuck and figure out what you would actually like to do with your career next? Have you been going around in circles trying to figure it out but getting no further forward? If so, you're going to love today's sponsor, my signature group program, the Career Clarity Academy. Changing career direction can feel overwhelming and daunting, but it doesn't have to be. In my signature program, we give you clear, step-by-step, proven processes for getting completely clear on what it is that you want to do and understanding how you can leverage your existing experience and position yourself to attract and land a dream role. To find out more, head over to lightboxcoaching.com/academy. Today, I want to talk about a topic that came up last week. So I meant to come on and talk about it last week, but didn't get the chance to. So I want to talk today about the fear of success and whether or not the fear of success may be holding you back from going for what you really want to do in your career. I have had quite a few conversations over the last couple of weeks with different people. And it's been really interesting to me that this topic has come up, because oftentimes people talk about the fear of failure. So when you ask somebody, why is it that you're not going for what it is that you want to do, or like what's really holding you back, people will often mention that, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? I'm worried about me failing. I'm worried about what people are going to think. I'm worried about various different things that flow from the fear of failure. So I hear people talk about that a lot, but I haven't really heard people talk openly about the fear of success in the way that I have over the last few weeks. So I really wanted to talk about it here. And the reason why I think it's important to talk about it is because sometimes you can be experiencing the fear of success, but you don't even realize it. Right? It can show up in different ways and you don't even realize it. So if you are in a role that you've been in for a while, but you're not feeling 100% happy where you are right now, but you're saying to yourself, maybe I just need to spend a little bit more time. Maybe I just need to increase my experience here so that I can move on. Maybe I need to get another qualification. Maybe, and you're saying all of these things, all of these reasons why now is not the right time for you to make a move. Because essentially what you're saying is, I'm not ready. I need to get more prepared. I need to do more. I need to spend more time doing what it is that I've been doing so that I am qualified to make the transition that I want to make, right? And that can show up oftentimes in terms of like, I think I need to spend more time, so I'm just going to spend more time. But then the question comes up, how are you going to know when it's been enough time? Right? Because if you're saying, okay, I feel like I want to make a move, but I'm not going to make a move just yet. My question is, how are you going to know when is the right time to move? Like, what markers have you put down for yourself in terms of when I feel like this, or when I've got this level of experience, or when I've spent this amount of time, then it's going to be time to move. Right? Are you asking yourself that question? When am I actually going to know that it is the right time to move? And sometimes the position that you're in and the organization that you work for or the environment that you're in can make you feel as though you are not equipped. It can make you feel as though you have so much more stripes to get or so many more levels to climb before you're in a position to really go for what it is that you want. Like if you think about how we grow up and you think about the education system and how, you have to go through a year, and once you go through that year, you're then qualified to move on to the next year. So you have to invest a certain amount of time in that year for you to be able to then move on and move on and move on. So that kind of trains us to be in a position where you've got to put in a certain amount of time in order for you to get the qualifications or in order for you to get the experience that you need so that you can move on to the next level. But sometimes when you get into the work environment and when you get into the corporate setting, it isn't the case that you haven't got the skills or the expertise to move on, but the environment that you are in can hold you in a place where you feel like you need to keep doing what you're doing for a certain amount of time. And then you can find that years go by and you're still in the same position and you're saying to yourself, well, why haven't I moved on? I was speaking to someone on the weekend and they were sharing a story that I thought was so interesting, and it kind of links to this. So he was talking about the fact that when he was at school, he was put into the bottom set in maths, right? So he's put in the bottom set of maths, and being in the bottom set, he got frustrated a lot of the time because he was doing work and he was saying to the teacher, like, this is easy for me, this is easy for me. But the teacher wasn't really taking on board what he was saying. And so he was in a position where people would look down on him because he's in the bottom set. People would have opinions about his ability because he was in the bottom set. So he kind of just disengaged. He disengaged from what he was doing. He spent lots of time playing football instead of studying. And he came out of school feeling like he wasn't intelligent. He felt like he was dumb. He felt like he wasn't good enough. But his dad he really pushed him in terms of education and encouraged him to go to university. He went to university and he studied mechanical engineering, and he had to do this maths paper, which was like the hardest type of maths that you could do. And so he studied for it and he ended up getting straight A's on that maths test. So it wasn't until he was in a completely different environment in that university setting where the expectations of him were different, that he was able to prove to himself that he wasn't dumb, that he didn't have issue with intelligence. It was just that he was placed in an environment that wasn't created for him to thrive. Right? Him being in the bottom set, it wasn't created for him to thrive. And so when he was sharing that story, I was thinking there's so many circumstances where people are in situations where they are not able to thrive. So whether it is that the way that the team is structured, or whether it is that you just don't have enough opportunity for you to actually move forward and display the things that you are able to do, which leads to frustration, it could be that. But sometimes you're in that situation. And so because you're in that situation, you kind of just accept it. It's like, okay, well, this is where I am. This is where I'm going to have to stay. And so I'll just continue what I'm doing, instead of saying, what if I did things differently? What if I took myself outside of this environment and put myself in a different environment where I could leverage my skills, my expertise, where I could really play to my strengths, be in my zone of genius, and really make an impact in the organization that I'm going to be working in, or in the impact, in society at large? Like, what if you were able to think about things differently? Like, if you thought about what was possible, as opposed to like, okay, I can't do that because like these are the restraints that I have. But then what comes up though when you start thinking about what is possible? So this is where the fear of success for some people comes up, because when you start thinking, okay, I've been in this environment for so long, this is what I'm used to, this is what I can do, this is what I'm capable of. But if I set my sights on like the new level, like moving myself to the new level or moving myself into a new environment, like, what if that actually works out? What if that actually works out? So instead of saying, what if I fail? The question could be, what if it actually works out? What happens then? And if you're going to be moving yourself out of an environment where you feel comfortable and elevating yourself into a new way of working and a new way of being, that can feel uncomfortable. That can feel really uncomfortable. And if say you're the first generation in your family to go to university. I experienced that. Say you're the first person to actually make it to VP level, or you're the first person to get to a certain level, and no one in your circle, like your friend circle or your family circle, has achieved that, but yet you're going to achieve that. That can automatically be creating distance between all that you're used to in terms of your social circles and where you're moving into. And that can feel really uncomfortable for people, because then it's like, well, if I reach for that level of success, I'm going to be leaving people behind. And if I leave people behind, we're not going to be able to relate in the way that we always have, right? Or they're going to think that I think that I'm better than them. Or like, I'm going to be in a position where there's going to be so much more expectation of me, and I'm going to have to show up differently. And am I really ready for that? right? So these are all of the types of thoughts that could be playing around in your subconscious mind that you might not even be recognizing. So when you're shying away from really taking that step, ask yourself the question, like, what is really going on here? Like, if I peel back the layers, what is my issue? Why is it that I am not going for the thing that I'm saying that I want? And I have been saying that I want for a long period of time. What is it that is keeping me where I am? And if it's not the fear of failure, if you're not so concerned about trying and failing, then perhaps it's the fear of success. It's like, okay, if I really go for it and I get it, then what happens to me then? Who am I then? What is my environment going to be like then? And how am I going to relate to the people that are around me then? Like, that could be the question, because it can be lonely at the top. You know, there's a saying, like, it's lonely at the top. Like, for some people, it's like, this would be new for me. This would be completely out of the box for me. This would be me moving into a completely different realm. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. But the question is, will you ever be ready? So if you're waiting for when you feel ready, the likelihood is that feeling isn't going to come. That feeling of, right, I feel ready. I know that it's uncomfortable. I'm ready to step into it. That feeling isn't just going to come. You've got to like welcome it in and be like, you know what? I feel uncomfortable right now. I feel uncomfortable pushing past my fear zone, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. I feel uncomfortable, but I might well do it anyway because I am excited about the possibility. Like, you might have to experience the discomfort in order for you to push through, as opposed to waiting for when you feel comfortable to then take the step, right? I think it's important to think about things differently, because if you've been going around in circles and feeling like you want to be moving, you want to be making a move, but you're just not doing it, and that you're finding lots of different reasons why it's not possible or why you can't do it now, then it's a good idea to kind of really like ask yourself, what's the real issue? Because once you identify what the real issue is for you, then you can look about like addressing it. You can look about working through that. But if you're just thinking, oh yeah, it's just, I just need more time, like, I'm not going to do it now, I'll do it soon, then soon never comes, one day never comes, right? And so asking yourself about that. Yeah, the fear of failure is real. Like, the fear of like it not working out is definitely real. And then the fear of success is also real. And I think that oftentimes people don't always think beyond the fear. So when you're saying, okay, the fear of failure is real, it's like, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? Like, asking yourself what the worst that can happen. It's good to do that, because sometimes your mind is like working overboard, like just saying, oh, like it would be really bad, and you're just thinking how bad it would be. But then when you really ask yourself, like, what is the worst that can happen? Like, oftentimes the worst that can happen isn't actually that bad. And then when you weigh it up against, well, that's the worst that can happen, but then what is the possibility for me if I go and I move forward? Then that can sometimes be the push that you need to say, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and then see what happens. If you're in your zone, if you are comfortable where you are and you've been in that place for a long time, then you kind of, it's like you're used to doing this. So instead of you looking for opportunities to push yourself, looking for opportunities to grow, it's like, yeah, I know how to do this. I've got this. And I'm going to react when people come and ask me stuff, and I'm going to respond, and I'm going to do my job. But am I really looking for opportunities for growth though? Am I looking for opportunities to push myself outside of my comfort zone? Because that's where I grow and that's where I develop. Because the growth zone isn't where your comfort is. Like, you're not going to grow if you're just continually showing up doing things the way that you've always done them. It's only when you challenge your way of thinking and challenge your way of being that you are able to like show up differently, do things differently, and then have a different experience as a result. So I think it's really, really important to say, you know what, like, if I haven't done anything that scares me for a while, then maybe I should push myself to do that. And I think that it's a muscle as well, right? So if you start pushing yourself to do things that are not comfortable, the small things that are not comfortable, then you get used to doing that. And then you can build yourself up to the bigger things, right? Because if you're just like, yeah, I just need to take a massive leap and do something that's completely different, but you're not used to actually pushing yourself to do those small things that are hard, it's going to be harder. So if you have been thinking about making a change for some time and you're just saying like, I'm not ready, then I would challenge you to think about, well, what can I be doing to flex that muscle? Like, help me to get used to stepping out and doing things that are outside of my comfort zone, or doing things that scare me, so that when I do the big thing, when I take the big jump, like it's not just out of the blue, like I've been comfortable, and now I'm trying to do this huge transition. Like, get used to doing things differently so that you can work your way up to the big leap that you absolutely want to take, right? So I hope that's been useful. And I think it's important to just look at things differently, particularly where we are now in the current landscape, and people feeling like now is a good time for me to make a change, but yet I don't know how to go about that, or I don't know whether I really want to go about that. Like, taking some time to think this stuff through can be really helpful in terms of getting unstuck and figuring out like what the next step should be for you. So if you want to hang out more with me and hear more about my thoughts on career change and the things that you can be doing, come and join me over in my private Facebook group, which is called Career Change Made Simple. And I'll be back again very, very soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Career Changemaker podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love for you to let me know what your biggest takeaway has been. So head over to Instagram, tag me at Career Changemaker, and let me know your thoughts. What did you like most about today's episode? I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, keep working towards your career goals, and we will speak very, very soon.